Country Extra.
Attention, all Folketeers. Welcome to Folk and Beyond. With me, your host, Derry Jones. I'll be having a special guest in the studio every month, featuring 5+1 faves, live performances from the Swinging Cat, and last but by no means least, Busby's going to be asking,
what's going on at the Woodman Des?
Yes, snippets from our very own Woodman Virtual Folk Club. Hello there, and welcome to Folk and Beyond with me, Derry Jones, and my guest in the studio, Mr. Dick Woodhouse.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone, indeed. That was, of course, our intro song, Jig a Jig, which consists of 3 jigs, the Ash Plant Reel, Drowsy Maggie, and Jenny's Kitchen. Did you know that then, Dick?
I think I knew the Drowsy Maggie one, but I wasn't sure of the names of the others.
I'm not sure if they're original or trad, but I know Drowsy Maggie's probably trad, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think Jenny's Chickens is a traditional. It's a name I've heard, but I didn't recognise the tune.
I thought it was a takeaway down Brawley Street, but there we are. Jenny's Chickens. If there isn't a shop called that, there should be. Okay, right then, Dick. Dick is in the studio, by the way, ably supported by his wife, Claire, who shall remain silent. Well, she's not going to speak to us, but she does occasionally lash out and kick Dick under the desk. But he's got back up, and we're okay. We've had a few technical problems, but we've got round them, and we're about to go. So, Dick, how did you get started into folk music? There's the question.
Well, in the Christmas of the year I was doing my O-levels, my sister came back from university and bought an acoustic guitar. And the tutor Playing a Day by Bert Weedon.
The infamous Playing a Day by Bert Weedon.
Indeed. So we brought this guitar home, and after about an hour, she'd got sore fingers. So I was allowed to have a go on it, and worked my way through the sore finger pain.
Yeah. Through the pain barrier.
That's right. And by the end of the day, I'd actually, well, I won't say mastered, but I was able to play the Bobby Shafter, which I think was the first thing in the thing, along with the chord changes. So she was quite upset about this.
A natural aptitude for it.
But anyway, she decided not to take the guitar back to uni after Christmas and left it with me to play. And the following summer, she had a holiday job in with a.
Was it a Butlins or in a pub?
Sorry, in a hotel in Whitby, where the eldest son of the owner was a very competent folk musician himself.
Oh, well, it's the neck of the woods to be in for folk musicians, isn't it? Let's face it.
Well, the Northeast certainly is, yeah. And she brought home the words to lots of folk songs, the inevitable Peter, Paul and Mary, Donovan, a bit of Dylan stuff, I think, and you know,
all the greats there.
Those sort of things. And I sort of taught myself to play some of these things on the guitar because I was able to pick things out on the piano. Having been fortunate to have a couple of years of piano lessons when I was younger, so I could read music and I could work things out on the piano and then transfer them to, or work out what the chords were and put them on the guitar.
Yeah, I have to say that Dick is indeed a multi-instrumentalist. He's hiding that under his bushel, but he's a great guitarist, a good singer, and does some very good covers of some Jake Thackeray stuff as well, don't you? We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll
later.
talk about those when we come to those later. Although it was around that time that Jake was appearing on the Saturday night show. Was it
Was it Braden Beat or something?
Braden,
or Braden's Week?
Braden's Week it was. It wasn't the BBC one at the time. And I loved his stuff. I had to go to the local record shop in Saltburn and buy order his LPs to learn those.
Order an LP. Yeah. I remember those days. Yeah.
But going back to sort of introduction, I think it was due to the girlfriend of one of my friends. She was a performer at one of the local folk clubs. Had a lovely voice, but not too hot on the guitar. And she persuaded me to go along and accompany her on a couple of occasions at one of the local folk clubs. And that sort of broke the ice for me. So having overcome that initial stage fright, I then ventured up on my own and performed a few things. I can't remember what it was, but the folk clubs were... the main folk club I used to attend at that time was one called the Cutty Wren in Redcar. And it was at a hotel called the Royal Hotel in Redcar, which was owned by the actress June Whitfield of Terry and June and Ab Fab fame.
Of course.
And of course, in those times, closing. Well, you could only order up to 10:30. And you had 10 minutes drinking up time.
That's right.
So at 20 to 11, she used to appear to kick us all out, basically, or persuade us to leave.
I'm sure she would have had the powers of persuasion rather than the powers of a big boot. Unlike somebody not sitting a million miles away from you.
Ooh. Hey,
Careful.
don't encourage her.
No kicking, kids. Don't try this at home.
Yeah, so that was how I got into playing at folk clubs.
So your first foray was more or less as a sort of a duo?
Yes. Probably only for one or two songs on a couple of occasions, and that was it. Yeah,
it all counts. Put them on the CV, Dick. Put them on the CV.
Although a bit later, I did actually play as a duo with one of the guys who was a regular at the Cutty Wren, because we found that we played similar material, and quite often I'd go along thinking I'd play something, and he'd go up and do it first, and vice versa. Now, this guy played fiddle and guitar, and I played guitar and a bit of mandolin, and we decided we'd just get together as a duo.
You could form a four-piece, really, if you moved quick enough.
Indeed. One of my summer vacs from uni, I think the first summer vac, we performed as a duo quite a lot, actually, and because we just found that we could pick up stuff and play it with hardly any practice, which was quite good. If we both knew it, then we could just put it together really, really easily. But of course, it didn't. With me being at uni, he was a teacher, and me being at uni, it's no way to continue really. So
you're an old dude, as they say.
Yeah.
In all the best comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was your first foray into it, basically, and then carried on as a duo with your mate. Yeah. And then where did you discover the Anglo?
Oh, this was much later in life. This was in the early 80s. I'd heard the Concertina, but we were at Warwick Folk Festival in, I think it was 1983.
Oh, wow. Going
And
back a bit then.
yeah, when it was held in the Lord Leicester Hotel. And there was a stall there. Chris Algar of Barleycorn Concertina was there, and said, "I want to buy a concertina." And he said, "All right, what sort do you want?" "Well, I want a concertina." He said, "Well, there's three sorts: Anglo, an English, and a duet." And anyway, he then described the differences between these two and concluded that perhaps the most appropriate one for me was an Anglo. So I bought this Anglo, was it an 1875 Lachinal 30-button CG Anglo, which I then spent some time teaching myself to play, which I can just about get away with.
No, you can play really. You'll hear that a bit later, actually, won't you? But anyway, you're going to introduce us now into your first track.
Yeah, this is Fairport Convention, Walk a While from Full House. It's the first folk rock album that I bought. It was the first album that featured Dave Pegg, and the last one in which Richard Thompson was actually a full-time member of the group.
Oh, a bit of a crossover album.
Yeah. Even my mum used to like this LP.
Bless her. Well, let's take a listen, and let's dedicate this to your mum as well, eh?
Yeah.
This is for Dick's mum. Walk a While, Fairport Convention. Me mouse has stopped working, Dick. Dick, me mouse has stopped working. What shall I do? There we are. That was Fairport Convention with Walk a While from the album Full House. A great choice, if I may say so, Dick. And, of course, Fairport Convention they're sort of royalty, aren't they? Folk royalty at the moment.
They are indeed.
And have been for a very long while. But they are not there on that throne alone. I see by your next choice you've got Mr. Martyn Carthy coming along. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that track?
Well, Martyn Carthy was... I was introduced to Martyn Carthy whilst I was... Well, not Martyn Carthy in person, but Martyn Carthy's music. Whilst I was in the sixth form, one of my school friends lent me a couple of LPs... Rags, Reels and Airs, which was Dave Swarbrick, Martyn Carthy and Disley, which inspired me to play the mandolin because of the tunes on that. And
Dick, by the way, is a multi-instrumentalist, I forgot to say, didn't I? Yes.
And Prince Heathen, which was a Carthy Swarbrick LP, very traditional stuff. I couldn't understand how Martyn Carthy managed to get the guitar to sound like he did.
Yes.
When I tried to play things on it, it was a completely different sound on my guitar.
He does spend a lot of attention on tuning it.
Well, it wasn't so much that whether it was in tune, it was what it was tuned to.
Indeed.
Because I hadn't been introduced to the concept of alternative tunings at that point in my life. And it was about a year or so later, I bought a copy of an LP, which was a Carthy Swarbrick LP, called Selections, which was selections from 3 previous recordings they'd made. And in this LP was an insert with an interview with Martyn Carthy, talking about his background and so on. But he mentioned alternative tunings, in particular Dadgad and Dad EAE. So I started to experiment and realised how he was able to get the sound that he did.
Yeah.
Incidentally, he now uses C, G, C, D, G, A as his normal tuning.
No, it sounds like a town in Wales to me. That was.
Yeah. But anyway, the track I've chosen, John Blunt, is from an LP called Shearwater. It's a traditional track, obviously, being a Carthy one.
Yeah.
About a drunken couple, but the guitar style that he's using on that is very much the guitar style which I developed myself. So
Right.
it's that's why I've chosen this particular track.
Well, let's go and have a listen to it then. This is John Blunt, a track by Martyn Carthy. Here we go.
There was an old couple lived under the hill, Blunt it was their name. Oh, they had good hair and ale for to sell, and it bore a wonderful fame. Oh. John Blunt and his wife, they drank of the drink until they could drink no more. Oh, they both got tired and they went up to bed and forgot to bar the door. Oh. So they a bargain made it strong and sure. Oh, the first of them should speak the first word, should get up and bar the door. Oh. So there came travellers three, travelling in the night. Oh, no house, no home, no fire had they, nor yet no candlelight. Oh. They went to his cellar, they drank up his drink until they could drink no more. Oh, but never a word did the old couple speak for fear who should bar the door. Oh. They went to his larder, they ate up his food until they could eat no more. Oh, but never a word did the old couple speak for fear who should bar the door. Oh. They went upstairs, they went to his room, they broke down their door. Oh, but never a word did the old couple speak for fear who should bar the door. Oh. They hauled his wife all out of the bed, laid her out on the floor. Oh, and up got poor John Blunt in his bed, for he could stand no more. Oh. Says, you've eaten me food, you've drunk all me drink, laid me wife on the floor. Oh, you spoke the first word, John Blunt, she said, so go down and bar the door. Oh.
Well, there's the master of tunes himself. Tuneless? Master of tunes is what I meant to say. I could do with some now. My nose is terribly blocked up.
Probably the master of tuning.
Tuning as well, indeed, yes. And that was John Blunt, the track John Blunt by Martyn Carthy. Another excellent choice from my friend Mr. Dick Woodhouse, ably accompanied by his silent wife. Sharp mention. Actually, Claire's giggling away there, so we're okay at the moment. No kicking. Right. Do you want to talk us to the next track, mate?
Well, the next track is a Joni Mitchell track. I was introduced to Joni Mitchell's music, again, whilst I was still at school, by a friend who lent me the LP Ladies of the Canyon. And I thought it was wonderful stuff. Again, played in all kinds of different tunings, which I didn't understand at that time. But she soon released the album Blue.
Yes.
Blue is
iconic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
really?
recently been voted as one of the best 10 albums ever released.
Yeah.
Well, Joni is reputed to have used over 50 different guitar tunings, and I've heard it said that she started to use different guitar tunings because she couldn't hold down lots of strings due to a weak left hand caused by a childhood illness.
Oh, right, yeah.
And she's also said that if you're stopping more than three strings in her songs, you're using the wrong tuning.
I like that sort of tuning. Do you want to tell us what the track's called?
Well, the track's called A Case of You, and it's from the album Blue.
Excellent choice.
You said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar, on the back of a cartoon coaster, in the blue TV screen light. I drew a map of Canada. Oh, Canada, with your face sketched on it twice. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. It tastes so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and I would still be on my feet. Oh, I would still be on my feet. I am a lonely painter. I live in a box of paints. I'm frightened by the devil, and I'm drawn to those ones that ain't afraid. I remember that time you told me, you said, love is touching souls. Surely you touch mine, 'cause part of you pours out of me. Lines from time to time. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. It tastes so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling. Still I'd be on my feet. I would still be on my devils and your deeds, and she said, go to him, stay with him if you can, but be prepared to bleed. I would still be on my feet.
What an excellent track. The marvellous Joni Mitchell, of course. Right, Dick, tell us about your next track.
Well, the next track is a Tony Rose track. Tony Rose was a performer I'd not come across until I won a signed copy of his LP Under the Greenwood Tree in a raffle at Whitby Folk Club. Tony was an Oxford-educated man and became a teacher, but his interest in folk music led him to turn pro in 1970. And he became one of the big names on the folk scene in the 70s. He specialised in traditional songs, particularly those collected in the West Country.
All right, yeah.
Apparently, in an interview in 1977, he's quoted as saying about folk music, "There isn't another music which deals with themes like love, murder, death, rape and incest in quite such an open and free way."
Wow. Now, there's an endorsement if ever I heard one.
That's right.
Good Lord. Okay, well, do you want to introduce the track to us,
Well,
mate?
this track is off, actually, Tony's last studio recorded CD, in this particular case, in 1999, a CD called Bare Bones, and the track is Following the Old Oss, and it's about the Padstow May Day Parade.
Ah, here we are then, following the old Oss.
Here's a Jew to winter's wailing, from and now on it's plain sailing, for the summer is a-coming today, as we welcome the 1st of May. And we're following the old Oss through the town, and we're following the old Oss Padstow round, all on a bright May morning, all on the 1st of May. And we'll rise in the morning early, and remember Merv and Charlie. By the Golden Lion we'll stand to greet the old Oss onto the street. And we're following the old Oss through the town, and we're following the old Oss Padstow round, all on a bright May morning, all on the 1st of May. And there'll be no cries or cribbing, we'll not wear the blue ribbon. It's the old red Oss, and a crate of a beer will bring us our good cheer. And we're following the old Oss through the town, and we're following the old Oss Padstow round, all on a bright May morning, all on the 1st of May. And we'll sing from noon till night time, and for one song it's the right time. Only in Padstow will we hear the day song loud and clear. And we're following the old Oss through the town, and we're following the old Oss Padstow round, all on a bright May morning, all on the 1st of May. So good men, don't ignore us, join in the May Day chorus.
Dance with the old horse, it's no sin to watch the summer come in. And we're following the old horse through the town, and we're following the old horse Padstow round. All on a bright May morning, all on the 1st of May.
That was Following the Old Us by Tony Rose. And what was the instrument being played there then, Dick?
That was an English concertina.
Do you not partake on that yourself?
I have an English concertina, but I can't play it. I play an Anglo.
He's telling lies now. He is telling lies.
No, that is true.
You'll hear
an Anglo concertina.
An Anglo concertina. I had one of those. I changed in for an Allegro, I think. But what's your next track, mate?
Right, next track is Sally G from Bob Fox and Stu Luckley. Now, somehow I missed out on Bob and Stu in the late 70s, and I'd only heard a few snippets of them on Jim Lloyd's Folk on 2 radio show in the early 80s. And he first came to my attention, or Bob first came to my attention, when he appeared at the Red Lion Folk Club in Kings Heath in Birmingham.
Along with folk club, by the way.
Along with Steve Tilston and Anna Ryder as a tour of the Fairport supporters, the people who supported Fairport on their annual tour.
Oh, right.
Bob's from Seaham Harbour on the coast of County Durham, and he's got a voice to die for.
He certainly has.
Yeah, but he's also a brilliant guitarist and sometimes plays the bouzouki. But in the late 70s, he teamed up with ex-Hedgehog Pie acoustic bass player Stu Luckley, and they released a couple of albums, Nout's a Good'll Pass and I Wish We'd Never Had Parted. Fortunately, in '97, Fellside released a CD featuring many of the songs from these LPs, which were obviously no longer available. On a couple of those songs, there's 3 of the songs on the things that are from the Gateshead area.
Yeah.
And this particular one I've chosen is actually a traditional song called Sally G, and it's basically a celebration of inner beauty.
Oh, well, on that poetic introduction, we shall have a listen.
I'll tell you of a nice young lass, and her name is Sally G. Well, I met her in the pub one night, it was down by the quay. I says to her, well, I know your face, but I didn't know for him aware. So I asked her whereabouts she lived, and she says down Carlisle Square. Never mind, the lass is kind, and now she is good-hearted, and the cast in her eye makes her look shy, and I wish we never had parted. She's got a hump, and she walks with a stick, and she's always good to me. I'm fond of the lass that men can pass, the lass down on the quay. Well, every night I used to meet me Sally on the quay, and I asked her if she'd marry me, if she'd be good to me. How long it is since she washed herself, well, I really didn't know, 'cause she's got a fierce like an old spice cake, it's as black as any crab. Never mind, the lass is kind, and now she is good-hearted, and the cast in her eye makes her look shy, and I wish we never had parted. She's got a hump, and she walks with a stick, and she's always good to me. I'm fond of the lass that none can pass, the lass down on the quay. She catched us walking out one night with her sister, Mary Jane. She fetched her such a clout on the lug that she never saw straight again. Then she turned on me with a look that could kill. She told us where to gone, but before I could tell her that I loved her still, she was up with another man. Never mind, the lass is kind, and now she is good-hearted, and the cast in her eye makes her look shy, and I wish we never had parted. She's got a hump, and she walks with a stick, and she's always good to me. I'm fond of the lass that none can pass, the lass down on the quay. It was all through her, I went on the drink, I went he fortune upon me chin, that was everything I had. Then next month the landlord appeared and he hied us through the doors. And I spent 6 months in Durham jail with me clothes put into store. Never mind, the lash is kind and now she is good-hearted. And the cast in her eye makes her look shy and I wish we never had parted. She's got a hump and she walks with a stick and she's always good to me. I'm fond of a lass that then can pass the lass down on the quay. Never mind, the lash is kind and now she is good-hearted. And the cast in her eye makes her look shy and I wish we never had parted. She's got a hump and she walks with a stick and she's always good to me. I'm fond of the lass that then can pass the lass down on the quay.
Oh, that was an abrupt ending. That was Sally G by Bob Fox and Stu Luckley. And your next track is by Joshua Rufkin, as a name from the last.
Joshua Rifkin.
Rifkin, I do believe. It's my handwriting, I can't read it.
Right. Well, it's a piano rag, Scott Joplin piano rag. I was introduced to Scott Joplin piano rags by a housemate at uni who had an LP of them being played on a pianola machine. And this was the year before the film The Sting was released, and the theme music to that film was The Entertainer, a piano rag by Scott Joplin. And it turns out this American professor of music called Joshua Rifkin had produced an LP for the Nonsuch label. Apparently, the first LP they did, Scott Joplin Piano Rags, the Volume 1, sold 100,000 copies in its first year and eventually became Nonsuch's first million-selling record. There was subsequently another couple of LPs, Volumes 2 and 3, and this track I've chosen is Weeping Willow, which is on the third LP, and it's a rag which I have subsequently transcribed to play on the guitar.
Wow. Let's have a listen to it then. What a great track there. Weeping Willow by Joshua Rifkin. Not Rufkin, as I said earlier, but Rifkin. And that was a fantastic choice of 5 plus 1 faves, if I may say so, Dick.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well thought out, well spaced out, and quite a wide range of material as well, if I may say so.
An eclectic mix.
An eclectic mix. What a great time for title for an album. Right, the next track we're going to hear is The Wine Song by Grant Bainham, ably introduced, more than ably introduced, by our MC Bryn, a.k.a. Bryn Phillips, who was indeed a guest on my show last month. But here he is, introducing Grant, doing The Wine Song.
What's going on at the Woodman Des?
Well, Buzz, as I said earlier, it's this.
Grant Bainham is performing his famous wine song tonight. It's not only a good song, but contains a lot of good advice that's worth taking note of. Please welcome Grant Bainham to the stage.
Guitar lesson. Those 2 chords there are middle 4-string chords. That is D major 6. And if you move that up 2 frets and onto the top 4 strings, you get this. So you get this sequence, which is lovely, isn't it? You don't care, but that is precisely the kind of geeky 15-year-old bedroom guitarist I was in 1971 when the Woodman Club was founded. And at that point, I wasn't even old enough to go into a pub unless accompanied by a responsible adult of whom I knew none. Well, I knew one bass player who was 18 years old, but responsible only in the sense of criminality. So, at that point, 50 years ago, and it's 50 years ago, that's outrageous, isn't it? I've qualified this week for my first jab as a for COVID-19 as a 66-year-old. Where does the time go? In that age, I was almost waiting for the folk club to be invented. I was living in Bewdley by then in 1971, and so on a Friday night. There was huge competition on a Friday night, Woodmanite. But in 1971, on a Friday night, there was the Kidderminster Lot. It started out at the Mare and Colt, moved up to the Nautical William on the Bridgenorth Road, and then back south, of course, to the Loch at Wolverley, and became the Cotterbluff Folk Club. That was my go-to club on a Friday night. And then we moved to Birmingham. On a Friday night, there was the Bell and Pump, Waterworks Road, Derry Grinnell's old club. There was the Birmingham Repertory Studio Theatre Folk Club, fronted by Nick Fenwick. All these on a Friday night, and those were, by this age, I'm 17, 18 and going everywhere. But it has to be said, not often to the Woodman, because at those clubs I could usually get a floor spot. I remember turning up to the Woodman around that time to see Alan Taylor, with my guitar in hand, as it were. Any chance of a floor spot? Did you book? No. Quite rightly, I was an arrogant little sot in those days. But it went, that was, I can't remember actually doing a floor spot at the Woodman. So this may be my actual debut floor spot at the Woodman, if you don't count a couple of years ago when I came down to sit in for a couple of numbers with Bev Pegg. But even that didn't count because I was royally rewarded with bed and breakfast at Deb and Derry. Deb and Derry's a brilliant breakfast, so that doesn't really count. And so here we go, my debut floor spot at the Woodman, by request. The Woodman, it has to be said, the only club in Britain, I never tire of saying this, the only club in Britain where they do speak with the funny accents. And even as I'm talking here, I can feel my accent retreating to what it was in 1971. Happy birthday. Who like their wine because it adds sophistication to that hearty meal they're serving to their friends. And there are those who like their wine because it helps in the creation of that party feel on which so much depends. And there are those who like their wine to come from eastward facing Chateau on the Plateau of Lorraine, dull that bunk. Their motives are not mine, and I like lots and lots of wine, and I like it 'cause it makes me drunk. There are those who take their mass because it helps them to relax. They find it helps their social manner to improve. So jolly useful scheme which I have taken to its logical extreme. I sometimes get so well relaxed I can't move. And there's another kind of fella, drink champagne to make him mellow, and he swears by Clico, Bollinger and Brute. I tried some Brute myself, I found it on the bathroom shelf, and he was right, it got me mellow as a newt. You can judge your wine by the quality of the vine, or its colour or bouquet or all that dog. But it all comes back to the falling over factor and the fact that it gets you drunk. There are those who like to think that it's important what you drink. They haven't got an inkling what it's all about. They spend their evenings wasting decent drinking time by tasting drops of this and that, then spitting it all out. They pass along the tables, truth they even read the labels, uttering things like, what a shame the cork has shrunk, or fruity nose or too much tannin, when they ought to get a man in who appreciates the chance to get drunk. They waste their time describing what they ought to be imbibing, which is wine, of course, although you'd never think it. Because they use words like young, but promising, precocious, full of fun. You'd have thought they were going to adopt the stuff, not drink it. And at a meal, these silly asses have a row of empty glasses, different wine with every dish they eat. They are ex-whatever's handy in a civil purpose shandy that goes very nice with fish or shredded wheat. You can judge your wine by the quality of the vine, or its colour or bouquet or all that junk. And it all comes back to the falling over factor of the fact that it gets you drunk. Who take delight pronouncing all the labels right. They roll their R's and do the German glottals. They couldn't give a monkeys, 'cause the stuff for getting drunk is on the inside, not the outside of the bottles. So if you have a cheese and wine, invite your friendly Philistine. Call me drunkard, call me sot, and call me wine open. You'll find me in the kitchen, I'll be giggling and twitching, having a sup and throwing up across your lido. You'll be judged by wine, the quality of the vine, or its colour or bouquet if you insist. But it all comes back to the falling over factor and the fact that it gets you misty-eyed and mellow, gets you mumbling, mawkish, miserable and pissed and happy.
great song that always goes through my head when I'm shopping for wine. Once more, please, for Grant Bainham.
Excellent. That was an excellent track from Grant Bainham called The Wine Song. Really funny man. Get to see Grant anywhere you can because he's brilliant. And of course, it was introduced rather ably and rather well by our resident MC at the Woodman Folk Club. That's Mr. Bryn Phillips, aka MC Bryn, and he does a fine job every Friday at 8:30 at the Real Woodman Folk Club. And you can come along and see our guests. We open up again on the 17th. That's the 17th of September. And our first one is a singer's night. So get your guitars, or indeed your Anglos. Bring them in, or your Folketeers, or wherever you arrive in. And you can have a plink and a plonk and have a sing there. We shall take all the precautions that we can, of course, by disinfecting microphones and having hand washes and, please don't come if you're showing symptoms of anything nasty. But there we are. The next week will be the 24th of September. We'll be having Mr. Pete Kelly, an excellent singer-songwriter. Pete is well known throughout these parts, as they say. So get yourself along to see Pete. And then on the 1st of October, we have Fragile Hearts, the Fragile Hearts, that should be. And they, well, what can I say? Steve, an excellent songwriter, and Helena, an excellent cellist. And it's, don't worry, it's not classical stuff, but it is very, very, very good contemporary folk music indeed. And then we have on the 8th of October, Ruth and Ken Powell, an excellent duo. Actually, sort of two halves of risky business, but Ruth and Ken as a duo are excellent. Ruth is an excellent vocalist. She's got a beautiful voice, and she can manage the delightful, sweet tones that folk demands, or the really raunchy, bluesy stuff that comes out sometimes. You've seen Ruth and Ken millions of times, haven't you?
Indeed, she's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely superb. So get yourself along to that if you can.
And Ken's a guitar maker.
Ken is a luthier, isn't he? So, and he makes some very fine instruments. Some of them are so expensive he can't even afford them himself. So if you want a new guitar, speak nicely to your other half and get down there and have a word with Ken. I'll just clear my throat. And on the 15th of October, we have another singers' night. A little bit earlier this one. We've moved the singers' night to coincide a little bit with I think it was Bonfire Night, but it's on the 15th I've got here. Let's have a look, see. We seem to have gone awry a little bit, but never mind. On the 15th, we have a singers' night. That's fine, 15th of October. And on the 22nd of October, we have the magnificent Eddie Morton. This man is a rock legend in his own lunchtime. Eddie writes some absolutely fantastic stuff. He was famously with the New Bushbury Mountain Daredevils, and lots of other people. He's played with Sanjay's backed up Sanjay, and Sanjay's backed him up, and all the rest of it. So, really, really, really wonderfully good musician, and a great chap as well. Speaking of great chaps, on the 29th of October, we have Mr. Will Morgan, Wilhelm to his friends. He's a very, very funny man, and he has a wealth of funny songs and sort of little sayings and little proverbs, I think they're called. You've seen Will many times as well, Dick, haven't you?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So come along and have a laugh. And the next one is a singers' night. This is the Bonfire Night one I was talking about earlier. Got right confused there. This is on the 5th of November, which Bonfire Night normally is. And, oh, bless you, mate. You're right. And then after that, we have, on the 12th of November, Mr. Mike Silver. Well, what do I need to say about Mike?
Who plays a Ken Powell guitar.
A Ken Powell guitar, plays it really, really well. And he sings beautifully also. So get yourself along to the Real Woodman Folk Club at Ashwood Marina. at 8:30 every Friday night. Look on our website for details.
It's all about you. Black Country Extra. Black Country Extra.
Hello there, welcome back to the second half of Folk and Beyond with me, Derry Jones, and my guest, Dick Woodhouse.
Still here.
Still here. We've been here for a long time, haven't we, Dick?
We have.
Yeah, but we've got chocolate bars, and Claire's quietly sat up the corner. You can't hear any snoring, so I think she's still there. So watch out, she might lash out at you with her foot.
Technology's been letting us down, hasn't it?
Well, it's not the only thing that's been letting you down, Dick. Here, an incompetent presenter might be having something to do with it as well.
No.
But well, thank you very much for that vote of confidence there. Well, this is the segment we call Alive from the Swinging Cat. This is my recording studio that I drag unfortunates into and make them sing for me. And this unfortunate we're talking about now is of course Mr. Dick Woodhouse, a fellow Woodmanite, a support artist at the Woodman Folk Club, and rather a good guitarist and singer as well. So the first track you've chosen, Dick, is The Hole. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, this is a Jake Thackeray track. We mentioned Jake earlier as
we certainly did
as a regular. He had a regular appearance on Bernard Braden's Braden Week in the late 1960s.
It's going back a bit, mate.
Yeah,
Isn't it? Yeah.
That was the predecessor to the That's Life programme, where I think Grant Bainham used to be.
Indeed, beloved Grant was there.
Yeah, yes. Jake released a couple of LPs in the early days, which I had to order specially from the local record shop because we, out in the sticks, we don't have big record shops.
Oh, that was before the days of instant gratification, I take it, yes.
That's right.
And how much did they cost you, Dick?
32 and sixpence.
32 and sixpence. That's in real money, folks.
Yeah.
32 and sixpence.
Yeah.
Oh, they were quite expensive, really, when you think about it.
Well, singles were 6 shillings and 8pence, if I remember correctly. 3 for a pound.
This guy's got a memory and a half, eh? Singles, yes, remember those?
Yeah. Well, Jake was originally a school teacher in Leeds. That's before he turned professional performer. And one of my school friends, his family had moved from Leeds to the area whilst he was at secondary school. And his sister had been taught by Jake whilst they were still in Leeds, and she hated him.
Oh dear.
But as far as his songs are concerned, they're absolutely brilliant.
They are indeed, yes, they are.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the longer and later songs, I didn't actually hear any of those until probably the late 90s when I found a compilation CD of a sort of Jake's greatest hit things in HMV or whatever.
Yeah.
I subsequently got the recording, I think, of all his songs, which I think our friend Malcolm Jeffrey was his group of people was instrumental in putting together.
He's a great advocate of our Jake, isn't he, Malky?
Yes, yeah. Anyway, the song I've chosen to perform here is one off the second LP called Jake's Progress, and the song is The Hole, and it's about a bloke who gets his finger stuck in a hole in a door and can't get it out again.
Whenever I listen to this track, it sort of reminds me of the old Eric Sykes type sketches, when they where they were sort of silent comedy, little 15-minute silent comedy sketches.
Yeah.
It's that sort of story, isn't it? That ludicrous type of story.
It is, with things getting more ridiculous as time goes on.
That's
yes.
it. And all the best comedies involve a policeman, of course, in this case. But this one is a particular... Well, have a listen to it and see what you think. There we go. This is The Hole and it's played by Dick Woodhouse, and it's a song by Jake Thackeray, live from the Swinging Cat. Hello again, and welcome back to the Swinging Cat studio. My guest is, of course, Mr. Dick Woodhouse, and he's with his next song, which is called The Hole.
After work on Friday, I was waiting for a bus. Me mouth was dropping open and me gaze was vacuous, and in the British workers' classic pose I was leaning on a door, when halfway down the wormy woodwork, quite by chance I saw a little hole. I don't know why I did it, I'm an impulsive sort of bloke, but I suddenly thought I'd give that little hole a furtive poke, and so I poked me finger in, and then I wiggled it about. But once I got the bleeder in, I couldn't get the bleeder out of the hole. The hole. Just a little hole in a door, opposite the bus stop of the number 74. Suddenly my humdrum life was out of my control, when I set my wretched eyes upon the hole. Into the night I heaved and strained, but still without success. Then a constable came and asked me for me name and me address. He said, I can pull you in for loitering and maliciously lingering, and furthermore you're not supposed to have your finger in that there hole. The hole. Just a little hole in a door. How was I to know that I was breaking the law? They sent a big Alsatian and a vice squad patrol when they heard about my finger and the hole. A crowd sprang up, the streets were full, the public formed a queue. The national press and the BBC got ready to interview. They said, just smile please for the cameras and do stop fidgeting. Now tell the world just what it feels like with your digit inside a hole. The hole. Just a little hole in a door, small dark recess, nothing less, nothing more. It may seem quite absurd, but it is anything but droll, posing for your picture with your finger up a hole. They sent a special doctor with a special rubber glove, with a very special finger and a special sort of shove, and he stroked around and poked around and wrote down in his book, the patient is doing nicely, but he's got his finger stuck up a hole. The hole. Just a little hole in a door. Along came the fire brigade with choppers galore. The door came off its hinges, it was quite a rigmarole. They took us off to prison, me, the door, and the hole. Then when I appeared in court, I cried, me lud, it isn't fair. Man will always poke up holes, me lud, because they're there. I'm innocent, I've drunk too deeply from life's bitter cup. And if you don't believe me, stick your worshipful finger up any old hole. The hole. Just a little hole in a door. It seems I've got to live with it for now and evermore. So vicar, come and give a wash and brush up to me soul, 'cause I'm off to meet me maker with me finger up an everlasting hole.
A classic. Well done, mate. Nice bit of joke there. Cheers. Back to the studio.
It's all about you. Black Country Extra.
Back to the studio indeed, and that was The Hole, played for us by Mr. Dick Woodhouse, a support artist at the Woodman Folk Club, amongst all other folk clubs as well, Dick. You go to other folk clubs, of course, don't you?
I do, yes.
Would you wanted to give those a name check while we're on the radio?
Well, I go to the Red Lion in Kings Heath, which is going to start again at the end of September.
Yeah.
And Bromsgrove Folk Club, of course.
Bromsgrove, our sister club.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great track. Do you want to talk about the next one?
Well, the next track is a track which was performed by Vin Garbett, although not written by him.
Right.
Now, Vin was born in Southbank, which is a suburb of Middlesbrough, and he was a regular performer at all the folk clubs that I used to attend in the area when I was a youth, and I got to know him quite well. His first LP, The Valley of Tees, which he released in '72, I bought my signed copy of it from him at the Cutty Wren in Redcar, which I mentioned earlier, and I still have that treasured recording because it's on the Leader Trailer label, and because you can't get any of those things anymore because they're all locked away. But Vin, apart from his self-penned and occasional traditional songs, Vin liked to pick up good songs he'd heard from other singer-songwriters whilst touring the folk clubs.
He certainly did, yes.
Good example of that is Bryn Phillips' Silver and Gold, which we heard in the last show. But one such song on his first LP, The Valley of Tees, was a song called The Streets of Staithes. And this was written by an ex-Middlesbrough school teacher called Barry Slater, who apparently spent his honeymoon in Staithes.
Oh, there you go.
But last time I did speak to Vin about this, which was not that long before he died, he said he didn't know what had happened to Barry Slater, lost touch with him, and I can't find any reference to him on the internet.
So he sort of faded away into the ethos.
Yeah, into the ether. Anyways,
ether indeed. Ether or.
Yeah. Anyways, Staithes is a small fishing village about halfway between Saltburn and Whitby. It's pronounced Steers by the locals.
Right.
And in the old days, the fishermen's wives used to wear lace-trimmed bonnets. That was a sort of trademark of the village. It's got lots of narrow streets and passageways. One of these is called Dog Loop, which is a width of just 18 inches, and apparently he's claimed to be the narrowest alley in the world.
18 inches? I think I'd have to go down that sideways, but there we are.
Yeah. Anyway, the song tells of the demise of the fishing industry, the small boat fishing industry in the village in particular. And it mentions buried hens, which are pregnant lobsters.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
When I was last in Staithes, I happened to walk up to the viewpoint where lots of the photographs that often appear on calendars and so on, because it's that sort of picturesque place from where they're shot. And there's a seat there, and there was an old guy sitting on there who was, I think, one of the old residents.
Yeah.
And I got talking to him, and he was telling me that the reason that the lobsters are now no longer plentiful is not necessarily due to overfishing, but due to loss of habitat. Because just about a mile from Staithes is Bowlby Potash Mine, which is the deepest mine in Europe. It's 4,600 feet deep.
My goodness, Dick, that sounds like a dangerous place to me.
And its tunnels go out about there's a total of about 60 miles of tunnels under the sea.
Crikey.
A long way down, though. But potash is used for fertilisers in agriculture. Yeah. And they extract this stuff, or they get it to the surface by dissolving it in brine down at the bottom, pumping it up to the surface, and then evaporating it off on the surface, and then putting the surplus brine, pumping it back out to sea.
Oh, I see.
Apparently this process has sort of disturbed the sediment on the seabed and filled in all the little overhangs of rocks under which the lobsters used to breed.
Oh, right.
So they're basically, the habitat where they used to breed has gone because they've filled up with silt.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah.
That's just a sort of example of where you've got to be very careful when you're using a marine environment in an industrial process.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it won't be the first time we'll hear about that sort of habitat erosion.
They do make another use of this mine because it goes out under the sea. There's actually a scientific laboratory there, 3,600 feet down under the surface, where they do research into dark matter.
Right.
Because apparently it's a dark space with no natural radiation. It's all screened out by the seawater.
Wow, dark matter. So listen up, all you naughty scientists out there. If you're very naughty, they'll send you down that hole.
Yeah.
Not the one we were talking about earlier either.
No, it takes 6 minutes to get down there in the lift, apparently.
It takes about 6 seconds if you don't use a lift, I've been told, yeah? Well, anyway, back to the song. This one is The Streets of Staithes.
Yes.
I said Staines before. It's not. It's Staithes. Streets of Staithes. Performed by Mr. Dick Woodhouse in the Swinging Cat Studio. Hello, welcome back to the Swinging Cat Studio with my friend Dick Woodhouse, and this song's called The Streets of Staithes.
One fine August day, as I was making my way along the hardship cobbled streets of Staithes, I saw the seagulls flying in the grey northern sky, heard the shifting chorus of the waves, and as Staithes looked so fair in the crisp morning air, sea mist yielding to fragmented specks of light. On the sea wall, through the mist lifting pall, an old man sitting there came into sight. Well, we sat side by side until the turning of the tide, but not the smallest craft put out to sea. As the waters receded, still unheeded lay their boats, their pots and nets neglected on the quay. Well, I asked him the reason why no boats put to sea, and he looked long and thoughtfully at me. And then with a sigh he said, you might well wonder why, for who'd have thought such things could ever be. Ah, there's days I remember when from March to November the men of Staithes set out with net and line, and every day from morn till night every man and boy would fight to take their families' living from the brine. And when the men came back to land, their women gave a willing hand to get the hard-earned catch safe on the shore. Hard work for women and for men, pots to pull, lines to mend and hooks to bait, all ready for the morn. But now the boats come empty in, no fish will buy no bread. To fish today you need a radar screen. The trawlers with their fine mesh nets are out to take all they can get between them. They'll soon fish the North Sea clean. So Staithes now wears a different face. The fishwives' bonnets trimmed with lace are only curios and souvenirs. And since they've taken buried hens, the lobsters too are at an end. The only fish is frozen now in Staithes. So now you see the fishing's done, the folk are moving on. If it's Staithes you came to see, you came too late. Although the seagulls still fly high, the men now work at ICI. They moved up to the council house estate. So think on now, you've heard me tale. These cottages you see for sale, for a way of life they are an unbarred grave. And on the air's salty breath I seem to catch the smell of death along the hardship cobbled streets of Staithes.
A great song. Very sad song though, mate. A very sad song, if I may say so, but probably a story that's repeated on many fishing villages across the country. Dick Woodhouse, and back to the studio. that was great, Dick. The Streets of Staithes. There we are. I pronounced it correctly this time.
You did.
Not often I get it right, but there we are. Yeah, expertly played. Very well done. You want to talk about the next song for us?
Well, the next song is a traditional song called Just As the Tide Was Flowing.
Not as I said earlier, just as the tide was turning.
No. I learnt this song originally from the LP Under the Greenwood Tree by Tony Rose. I think I mentioned in the earlier half I won that at... I won a copy of this at Whitby Folk Club.
Oh, brilliant.
I mentioned Tony was a traditional singer. He specialised in songs from the West Country generally. He's a brilliant guitarist. There's a song on that LP called Limbo, a traditional song, which I was struggling with learning to play. And he was on at the University Folk Club one week. So I asked him about it, and he, kind, nice man that he was, he taught me how to play it. And it's in a tuning E-A-D-E-A-E, which I have played on occasion at the Woodman.
You certainly have, yeah.
But Tony was a brilliant English concertina player. I think I mentioned earlier I have an English concertina, but I can't get my brain around it. I bought an Anglo concertina. An Anglo concertina works a bit like a harmonica. It plays a different note whether you pull or push on the bellows.
Right.
So I'm playing this song just as the tide was flowing in the style of Tony Rose's version on Under the Greenwood Tree. But in this case, Tony Rose said it seems to have been a tremendously popular song with traditional singers in the south of England. Its appeal lies in its fine tune and a somewhat unusual storyline. Among the scores of returning sailors celebrated in this song, this must surely have been one of the most fortunate in meeting such a generous young lady.
Oh, I see.
You'll hear why when we get to the last but one and the last verse.
So keep your ears open for that one then.
So this is played on a 30-button Anglo concertina made by Lachenals in about 1875.
My goodness me. So are they still going?
Afraid not.
Well, there we are then. So you've had your chips there, as they say. Well, this is Just As the Tide Was Flowing, played for us by Mr. Dick Woodhouse at the Swinging Cat Studio. So let's have a little listen. Hello and welcome back to the Swinging Cat Studio. And with me in the studio is my good friend, Mr. Dick Woodhouse.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dick. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
And he's going to play for us his track, Just As the Tide Was Flowing. Over to you, Dick.
Right. One morning in the month of May, down by a rolling river, a jolly sailor I did stray, and I beheld some lover. She carelessly along did stray, a viewing of the daisies gay, and she sweetly sang a roundelay just as the tide was a-flowing. Oh, her dress, it was as white as milk, and jewels did adorn her, and her shoes were of the crimson silk, just like some maid of honour. Oh, her cheeks were red and her eyes were brown, her hair in ringlets hanging down. She'd a lovely brow without a frown, just as the tide was a-flowing. So I made a bow. I says, fair maid, what brings you here so early? Oh, me heart for you, it is betrayed, and I could love you dearly. Oh, I am a sailor come from sea. Will you accept my company to walk and view the fishes play, just as the tide is a-flowing? No more was said, and on our way we walked along together. The small birds sang, the lambs did play, and pleasant was the weather. When we were weary we sat down beneath the tree with the branches down, and what was done shall ne'er be found, just as the tide is a-flowing. And as she lay there on the grass, her colour it was a-changing. She cried out, she said, alas, never let your mind be a-raging. Here's £20 I have in store, use it when you will, there's more. For me jolly sailor I adore, just as the tide was a-flowing. So we both shook hands and off did steer. Jack Tar drinks rum and brandy, and to keep his shipmates in good cheer, for the ladies' gold it is handy. So along with another pretty maid I'll go to a public house where the beer do flow. Success to the maid who will do so, just as the tide is a-flowing.
Nice one, mate. That nearly awoke the latent Morris dancer in me, that one. Well done. Back to the studio.
It's all about you. Black country extra.
And you wouldn't want to see that, would you, Dick?
No.
Mind you, I think you have once. And did you witness I think it ended with me on the floor somewhere.
Was that due to the Morris dancing or due to something you might have been drinking?
I can answer yes confidently to both of those suggestions. But yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant song. Tune, I should say. And what was that? Was played on the Anglo.
That's right.
Concertina. That's right. And that was Just As the Tide Was Flowing, performed to us by Mr. Richard Woodhouse. What about your next one then, Dick?
Well, something completely different. This is a song which is getting fairly well known around the folk scene. It was called Icarus. Now, Icarus in Greek mythology, he tried to escape from Crete using wings made from feathers and wax.
Oh, right.
But he flies too close to the sun and the wax melts and he crashes into the sea and drowns.
Ouch.
Anyway, this song, Icarus, was written by Anne Lister. And she recorded it with her group Anonyma in a 1987 LP, Burnt Feathers. The rest of the group, Anonyma, was Mary McLaughlin, Laurie Harper and Martyn Simpson.
Martyn Simpson?
Yeah. But previously, this track, because she didn't record it for quite a few years after she'd written it, it was recorded by several other people. One of them being Martyn Simpson in 1985 on his LP Sadar Sad or High Kicking.
Wow, what a title for an album.
But the version I heard first was performed by Maggie Holland on her 1985 LP, Still Pause. And so I learned it from that, which is probably just as well, because the Anne's, shall we call it, a version as she intended it to be done is in a very, very strange, irregular time signature, shall we say, right. Which is quite hard to keep up with, because it's got irregular lengths of lines in
it's
the
unusual
verses.
That for a song, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, well, it's fairly common in all traditional songs, but not necessarily in more contemporary things.
Oh, right.
But anyway, Maggie Holland played it in a much more constant rhythm manner.
More conventional.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. I play it in C, G, C, F, G, C, which is basically Dadgad tuned down another tone.
So it's all clever tuning stuff then?
Well, not particularly clever tuning, but it's a tuning I like a lot.
It's too clever for me, mate. I mean, it's a bit of Martyn Carthy stuff going on there, I reckon. We've already mentioned him once.
We have, yes, yeah. I suppose it was due to Martyn Carthy that I got into different tunings in the first place.
OK then, Dick. Well, this is Mr. Richard Woodhouse performing Icarus live from the Swinging Cat. Hello and welcome back to the Swinging Cat studio with Dick Woodhouse and myself, Derry Jones, and this is Dick's song Icarus.
Thought it was your way of talking, but then you said you'd built some wings and found out how it could be done. But I was doubtful of everything. I never thought you'd reach the sun. So clever with your hands. I watched you for hours with the glue and the rubber bands, and feathers and lace and flowers, and the finished wings, they glowed so bright. Like some bird of glory, I began to envy you your flight, like some old hero's story. Tried to get me to go with you. You tried always to dare me, but I looked up at the sky so blue. Thought the height would scare me, so I carried your wings for you. Up the path to the cliff face, kissed you goodbye and watched your eyes already bright with sunlight. You soaring higher, but there was a pain deep in my heart. The wings seemed tipped with fire, like a seagull or a lark rising up forever, like some ember or some spark rising from earth to heaven. Then I I believed you touched the sun. I believed all you told me, done a thing no man had ever done. You touched the stars to please me, but then I saw the white wings fail, and I saw the feathers falter, watched you drop like a ball of gold into the wide green water. Now some are born to fly high, some are born to follow, some are born to touch the sky, while some walk in the hollow. But as I watched your body fall, I knew that really you had won. For your grave it was not the earth, but the reflections of the sun.
Song. Beautiful song that was. Well done, mate. Now back to the studio. It was indeed a beautiful song. And who did you say wrote it again, sorry?
Anne Lister.
Anne Lister, that
Yes.
was, folks. Anne Lister. Get out there, see if you can find any of her music and play it away, because it's a very clever and a very beautiful song, that is. And beautifully performed, if I may say so, Dick.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, mate. Now, we're familiar with the next one, I believe, but you're going to tell us all about it?
Well, I'll tell you something about it. It's obviously a sad song. It's Eric Bogle's The Band Played Waltzing Matilda. Now, Eric Bogle is an expatriate Scotsman who lives in Australia. He came over for his last tour of the UK about 5 or 6 years ago, if I seem to remember, and Bromsgrove Folk Club, Bromsgrove Folk Festival, managed to bag him for that.
Yes.
So that's the only time I've ever seen him live.
Yeah.
But this song is basically about the horrors of war.
Mm-hmm.
It's the song describes war as futile and gruesome, whilst criticising those who seek to glorify it. So the account of it in this song is of a young Australian serviceman who is maimed during the Gallipoli campaign of the First World War. And the protagonist, who previously travelled across rural Australia before the war, is emotionally devastated by the loss of his legs in battle.
Oh, blimey.
And as the years pass by, he notes the death of other veterans, while the younger generation becomes apathetic to the veterans and their cause. At its conclusion, the song incorporates the melody and a few lines of the 1895 song Waltzing Matilda by the Australian poet Banjo Paterson.
Yeah, yeah.
I first heard this song sung unaccompanied by June Tabor on her CD Airs and Graces. And she does a very moving version of it. It's one of those songs which is quite hard to perform without welling up.
Yes, it is a very, very emotional and poignant song, and it does graphically explain the horrors of war from a very personal point of view.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't hear the original version. I heard the June Tabor version before the original version.
Yes, that was the case with me.
Yeah. But I also heard somebody, I don't know if you know the guy called Cyril Tawney.
I do.
Yeah.
Or did.
No, I did, yes.
I remember seeing him at the, what was it, the old Swan Folk Club in Digbeth in the
right.
in the early 70s.
I saw him at the Bear Hotel in Bearwood.
Right. resting his little guitar on top of his enormous belly.
Yes, I do copy his style, not of guitaring, but of resting the guitar on top of an enormous belly. Yes. Anyway, we're being jovial, and this is quite a sombre song. So, this is the band played Waltzing Matilda, live from the Swinging Cat studio, performed by Mr. Richard Woodhouse. Hello there, welcome back to the Swinging Cat studio with me, Derry Jones, and my guest, Dick Woodhouse. And here's a song that we're all familiar with and love very well. It's called The Band Played Waltzing Matilda.
Carried my pack and I lived the free life of the rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915 the country said, son, it's time to stop rambling, there's work to be done. And they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun, and they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as our ship pulled away from the quay. And amidst all the cheers, the flag waving and tears, we sailed off to Gallipoli. I remember that terrible day, how our blood stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they called Suvla Bay we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turkey was waiting, he prepared himself well, he showered us with bullets, he rained us with shell, and in 5 minutes flat he'd blown us all to hell, nearly blew us right back to Australia. But the band played Waltzing Matilda as we stopped to bury our slain. We buried ours and the Turks buried theirs, then we started all over again. Now those that were left, well, we tried to survive in that mad world of blood, death and fire. And for 10 weary weeks I kept myself alive, whilst around me the corpses piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me arse overhead, and when I woke up in me hospital bed and I saw what had happened, I wished I was dead. Never knew there was worse things than dying. For I'll go no more waltzing Matilda all around the green bush far and free. For to hump tent and pegs a man needs both legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. So they gathered the crippled, the wounded, the maimed, and they shipped us all back to Australia. The the armless, the legless, the blind, the insane, those proud wounded heroes of Suvla. And as our ship pulled into Circular Quay, I looked at the place where me legs used to be, and thanked Christ there was nobody waiting for me to cry and to mourn and to pity. But the band played Waltzing Matilda as they carried us down the gangway. But nobody cheered, they just stood and stared, then they all turned their faces away. So now, every April, I sit on my porch and I watch the parade pass before me. And I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reliving old dreams of past glory. But the old men march slowly, all bones stiff and sore. They're the tired old heroes of a forgotten war. And the young people ask, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. But the band plays Waltzing Matilda, and the old men still answer the call. But as year follows year, more old men disappear. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? For their ghosts may be heard as they march by the billabong. Who'll come a
It's all about you. Black Country Extra.
And that was the band played Waltzing Matilda. And that was a great version of it, if I may say so, Dick.
Thank you very much.
I bet you practiced that long and hard, haven't you? At least 5 minutes. Go on, make us all feel good. Say it took you 3 hours.
I practiced it a few times.
Yeah, I bet you did, mate. Yeah. Never mind. Moving swiftly on, the next track you've chosen is the Constant Lovers. You're going to play for us.
Right.
So, could you tell us a little bit about this one?
Well, this is another traditional track. I thought I'd have to have another traditional track in my set because I think I'm one of the few traditional song performers at the Woodman, actually, aren't I?
It does tend to be more contemporary than traditional folk.
But anyway, this one is the archetypal traditional song with the. It has what we call the Woodman a Bryn index of 2.
2.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, for those of you who are not aware of this, Bryn, who has been mentioned and who was on the show previously, many of the songs he writes himself have quite a lot of death in them. And the Bryn index is the number of deaths in the song. So the band played Waltzing Matilda had a Bryn index of about 57,000. But
yes, it did indeed.
This one has a Bryn index of 2. And it's a song where the storyteller is a man who's walking on the cliffs and he hears a singing, bumps into an attractive young lady and thinks, oh, fancy her, and offers to marry her, but she said, no, I'm my love has drowned in the sea. And he says, but, I've got riches and you can ride in this coach and 6 horses. And she said, no. Said I'd never marry. And she throws herself off the cliff, basically.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So, it's an archetypal traditional song. So, but as I said, only a Bryn index of 2, because her lover has already drowned, you see. So that's why she's thrown herself off the cliff. So that makes the 2.
Blimey. That's the things you see in the coach and horses, eh? You've got to be careful who you ask out these days.
You do, yes.
Do you want to go out? No, I'm just going to throw myself off this cliff.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. I've had that effect on women before, I have to say, yeah. But, well, here it is. It's the Constant Lovers, played for us by Mr. Richard Woodhouse in the Swinging Cat studio. Here we go. Hello, welcome back to the Swinging Cat studio. And here's Dick again with another song called The Constant Lovers.
As I wandered down by the seashore, where the winds and the waves and the billows do roar, oh, I heard a strange voice make a terrible sound. 'Twas the wind and the waves and the billows all round, crying, oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore, and he's drowned, and I never shall see him no more. She'd a voice like a nightingale, skin like a dove, and the song that she sang, it was all about love. Oh, I asked her to marry me, please, but the answer she gave, my love's drowned in the sea, and it's my love is gone. He's the youth I adore, and he's drowned, and I never shall see him no more. I'd gold and I'd silver besides, in a coach with 6 horses, with me she could ride. Oh, I never shall marry, nor yet make a wife, constant and true-hearted for the time I have life, and it's my love is gone. He's the youth I adore, and he's drowned, and I never shall see him no more. Gave a great leap from the hilltop so high to the billows so deep, crying, the rocks of the ocean shall make me a bed, and the shrimps of the sea shall swim over my head, crying, my love is gone. Here's the youth I adore, and he's drowned, and I never shall see him no more. Now Every night at 6 bells they appear. When the moon it is high and the sky it is clear. These two constant lovers with each other's charms, crying over and over in each other's arms. And it's oh, my love is gone. He's the youth I adore, and he's drowned, and I never shall see him no more. Oh, my love is gone. He is the youth I adore, and he's drowned, and I never shall see him no more.
A proper folk song there, Dick. Proper folk song. Nice guitaring as well. Thank you, Dick. And back to the studio. And here we are, back at the studio. And I'd like to say thank you very much to my guest, Dick. Due to technicalities, he's sort of vanished in a puff of smoke. and miraculously,
like a pantomime.
just like the Woodman pantomime, which we're not going to have this year. Billy Spakeman has appeared.
I know. I got lost, I think, going out on a Sunday night. I went away for a takeaway and I've ended up here. But,
well, I thought, did you bring me anything?
No. Well, I don't get anything in the end because the Chinese was open. I don't really like Chinese. Other nationalities are available.
Of course they are, yes. I like a spring roll, me.
All right. Well, it's autumn now, so we'll have to gear up on them.
I thought I was going to get in there.
I thought I'd pop in because the Woodman reopens next week, and I was going to ask you. I mean, I know we've booked, so we'll be coming down and paying our dues.
Yeah.
But is it all going to be? I don't know. Have you got limited numbers, or is everybody going to be mask wearing? Or
well, I mean, mask wearing. As far as the mask wearing. By the way, we open on the 17th. Of September. It's for a wonderful Woodman Singers Night.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we are actually, at this moment, oversubscribed by about 3 acts.
Oh, right.
So, if anybody's booked booked a slot, I should say, and they can't make it, please let us, either me or Deb know. The number's on the website.
Yeah.
Because we've got 3 more people in the wings waiting now.
Oh, right, okay.
But the way it will run is pretty much how it ran before.
Yeah.
I mean, we went up to the marina yesterday, in fact, to check it all out, and had a nice lick of paint everywhere. And
oh, lovely.
That's it. There was a leak in the roof, which has now been fixed.
Great stuff.
So we won't get wet. And what we'll do, basically, there's hand sanitizers everywhere. If you want to wear a mask, that's fine. If you don't want to wear a mask, that's fine also.
Okay.
We're going to respect each other and be kind to each other because it's silly not to do that.
Yeah.
But I know the Woodmanites, and I know they do that anyway.
Yeah. Can you bring your own mic, or will you change mics or stuff like that? Some places do, some places don't.
It's entirely up to the person who's performing. We can accommodate their own microphones. We've got phantom power and all the rest of it, all the singing and dancing, whistles and bells on the PA.
Yeah.
So we're all right with that. If not, if you're happy to use the house microphones, we'll do that. But what we will do is we'll sanitise each microphone. So when one act's using one mic,
you'll be sanitising.
We'll be sanitising another, and so on like that. We'll go on like that. And as I said, there are hand sanitisers all over the place. There are also, I would probably recommend that you don't hang around the bar once you've been served.
Yeah.
Just as a politeness to the bar staff.
Great.
And Mark's a lot bigger than most people, so he'll come along and bounce you if you don't. I mean that in the nicest possible way, Mark.
Yeah. And then you got Great Brie Kelly the week after. Is it the week after? We had John Richards on the show.
I know, I heard
fantastic.
I was listening to your show. Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. It was lovely to see him.
What a brilliant
after all this time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I shall have him on my show if he comes along. But will be a bit of a gap because you've already beat me to it.
Well, I thought he'd moved, see, and I just sent this email, and then all of a sudden he says, "No way, I moved." I said, "Come on the show."
Not only is he nicking my guests, he's also not buying me any Chinese.
Oh, right. I see.
So I see.
Yeah.
Yes, well, obviously, he's a favourite at the Woodman anyway.
Yeah.
And he nicks all our floor singers for his band, so he has to come back every now.
Well, he's emailed me since saying, "Do I know a violin player?" So I've had to send him on to somebody else for that because I do know some, but I don't know if they play. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, lovely. So I'm going to get me a takeaway from somewhere now. So
Well, don't forget spring roll. Okay?
spring roll, okie.
Once again, many thanks to my guest, Mr. Dick Woodhouse, a fellow Woodmanite and a brilliant musician, and hopefully we'll see you all there. So take care, everyone.
Ta-ra a bit.
We're going.
It's all about you. Black Country Extra.